I recorded. Okay. Okay. Uh, I'm gonna start.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Hi, Lauren. Thank you so much for taking time to meet with me today. I've been looking forward to this conversation because social media and community building are some areas that I'm really interested in, especially as someone working in digital marketing and customer engagement. So before we jump into community building and my questions, I would love to learn a little more about your journey and who is Lauren Nicole Jordan, what originally attracted you to social media. So if we can start with that question, will be great.
Of course. So I began my career in social media when I was working at Nordstrom. I was hired as a personal stylist that worked by appointment. So I would work with celebrities and a lot of affluent people here in Miami, Florida, out of their Coral Gables location in Merrick Park. Quickly into my role, I became one of the top sellers at Nordstrom in the designer division. So that's typically not easy to accomplish because I'm selling $5,000 dresses to just random women, and not everybody has that much money. Um, I was invited by Eric Nordstrom, who's one of the co-founders of Nordstrom, the retail store, to a private breakfast to talk about my strategy when selling clothing. In that breakfast, I shared with him an idea that I had. Social media was really starting to take foot. At the time, I was a fashion blogger, and I offered the opportunity to work for Nordstrom's social media team. At the time, Nordstrom only had a corporate account. Their account was just at Nordstrom. And I emphasized on the fact that not every store has the same inventory and how much we can benefit and grow more awareness around the inventory that we had at our specific store if we created a store that was Nordstrom at Merrick Park. So really serving the local consumer. I was offered the role the next day, and I quickly began my journey in social media. And the really funny thing is that throughout my time at FIU, I am a proud FIU graduate. I graduated with a bachelor's in journalism and public relations. Um, I remember arguing with one of my professors in my senior year, and he always told me that social media was a fad, it was a trend, and it wasn't going to grow. But I always knew the power of storytelling and also the power of relating to a consumer and speaking like they do. I think one of the things that really made me stand out in my career and what's brought me success is being relatable to the consumer and not trying to sound too smart or different than they are. And so, just a little shout out to my professor. I've grown an incredible career, making over six figures a year since I was 25 years old. And um, as we know, social media is not going anywhere. It's
Yeah.
actually one of the biggest business drivers, I believe, right now for brands.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. This is very interesting to hear about social media from your experience, and I would like to touch some like brand point of view when we like dive into this topic. So
Perfect.
as you know, like today brands are trying to create real relationship and real communities, which you already have it. So many brands focus on gaining followers, but not all of them build communities.
Exactly.
How do you define the difference between an audience and true community?
Oh, that's a great question. So, an audience is someone that you speak to, a community is someone you have a conversation with.
Yeah,
Um, I'm constantly opening the door in our comment section, really wanting to understand what our consumers are thinking. It's really easy to create a post and make it all about yourself, the brand. But I think two-way communication is super key in order to understand who your consumer is, and therefore will help you to market to them down the funnel more
yeah,
and become more strategic and better at it. So, one of the first things that I teach my teams when they join me is I want you to become their best friend. So, as a social media manager or a community manager, really engaging with the consumer and understanding what their pain points are, who they are. I spent a lot of time clicking those profiles and scrolling through their grids to understand, like, what can I say that will be relatable to them. And that's when I started creating these little things called micro moments. So I would create content around being a mom or content around someone in school and just really relating to them. And I think that when you meet your audience where they're at, you get an opportunity to understand not only what their pain points are, but what they love. And sometimes our social posts or the posts that I create for the brands that I work for, are not conversion driven. Maybe the conversion is just a conversation. It's just an idea to understand who they are. So, in short, I kind of like to leverage social media as like my focus group.
Mhm.
And like, what better focus group to have than people that are already engaged with the brand?
Yeah.
Um, I also like to look for like-minded brands that I think consumers would like. So when I work for a brand, I build a little persona around them. Okay, so if they like makeup, what other brands would they reach out to? And what's their day-to-day like? So it really helps me drive community there because they start to resonate with us and who we
Yeah.
are. And naturally, some fall off and some stay. But I'm really proud of what I've done, and I think that like I don't always get it right. There's some
Yeah.
posts that bomb. And sometimes I'll get backlash from the community, especially around diversity. It's such a sensitive
Yeah.
subject. So I do my best to listen to the audience and give them what they want because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, if they don't like us, they're not gonna like the brand.
Yeah. Exactly. And that answer leads me like perfectly into my next question about
Mhm.
pharmacy, your pharmacy journey. You're also content creator, but also you're a global social director in pharmacy, which is like a global multi-level marketing company. So for brand like pharmacy, which is that like relies heavily on the relationship and word of mouth. What role does social media play in creating like genuine sense of belonging, like as a feeling part of a community?
Absolutely. I think that brands in this space, like in this industry, which is called direct sales, or we like to call ourselves social selling, um, you really want to make sure that, well, let me back up. There's a few reasons why people join a direct selling company. The first one's usually that they want to make more money, right?
Mhm.
They want to be almost like an affiliate. They want to earn. They want to do that. So great. They start earning, but what makes them stay? Right? Because there's so many brands out there, especially with affiliate marketing on the rise, like they can go sell for any other company. But what makes them stay? It's the community. It's showcasing themselves in our content. It's creating super compelling, engaging recap videos from the events that we host. And it's really, like I said, using them as a focus group to understand, what is missing in this community? How can we enhance this community? Brands outside this space. I've been lucky enough to consult for brands outside this space. Recently, I was hired by Zara, the fashion retailer, who is in the D2C space, because they were super interested in how I've grown communities for direct sellers. This will be the third company now at pharmacy that I grew a direct selling brand for, and they were really interested in how growing community. So when you ask about pharmacy as a global company, I will say we're one big community, but when you really look in, every community and every market is so different. And I think that localization is key. Really understanding that certain pieces of content that resonate with our US audience don't necessarily resonate with our audience in Italy.
Yeah.
Certain models that we use can change. And I think that in order to keep that community alive, and I keep saying this, they got to see themselves in what we
Yeah.
do and they have to be able to relate to that. So, growing a global community is definitely not easy. I think it takes a lot of tweaking and looking back and looking at the data and understanding what works, what doesn't. And I think McDonald's does an incredible job at this. McDonald's is recognized everywhere you see those golden arches and that red
Yeah.
thing, you know exactly who they are. But the menu in every country is different, and that's for
Yeah.
a reason. They still want to give you that McDonald's feel, but they want to cater and localize to that market so that those consumers can really engage with the brand.
Yeah.
And I think that to build a community, especially globally, it's not copy paste for every single country. You have to
Yeah.
tweak the way that you say things and the way that you approach them.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, localization, you said like authenticity, you said, like so many tweaks that we need to prepare about it. So I would like to come to this part. Like, I believe that pharmacy is very dependent on not maybe not the correct word is dependent, but it's like heavily on user generated content. Like this
Yes.
is something very hits to get this goal during the month. So I would love to ask like how do you encourage authentic user generated content without making it feel forced? Because I saw so many videos. It doesn't look like forced. They are making because they feel belong. They feel like a community, so they are creating that content. So how do you encourage them to feel not feel forced, but or maybe overly promoted, but like authentic and belong.
So a lot of performance marketers hate it when I say what I'm about to say. And performance marketing, I mean like paid social and things like that, because when you're necessarily working with someone for UGC content, you want to get what you need right away. So they'll oftentimes create these super detailed, extensive briefs for their audience, whether it's an influencer or just a normal consumer to receive that UGC that serves the brand. And I understand that, and I always give my FIs, which are pharmacy influencers, and even our paid influencers a brief. But I always say this to everybody, and it's let the creator create. And I want them to feel comfortable with however they choose to show up on social media. So some people will choose to do a get ready with me. Some people just want to talk into the camera. And sometimes that user-generated content isn't even visual. It's a text or it's a testimonial. Um, but I always say no one knows themselves better than they do. And for me to force someone to create a UGC piece that is not centered around who they are, you're gonna notice right away that that's not
Yeah.
who they are. They're gonna be kind of shaky and they're gonna stutter their words and they're not gonna come off as confident as they would want to be
Mhm.
to come off on camera. So we say let the creators create, let whoever I'm working with and whoever is creating that UGC feel free to create what they want.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously with a little bit of brand guidelines, no profanity, no
Of course.
nudity, things like
Yeah.
that. Um, but then again, when it comes to growing UGC, I am constantly asking them to. I think that if you don't ask for things, you're never going to receive them. And I think early on in my career, I demanded certain things. I knew that what I brought to the table. And sometimes I didn't know and I faked it and I
Yeah.
got it. And I think that, asking our community, share with us how this looks on you. I want to see the foundation on you. I want to see what this Nutri Plus product has done for you. Share your before with me now. And then in 4 weeks, I want to see that after. It's constantly communicating to them and showing interest in their best interest that will serve them best.
Yeah.
So, it's really, if you look at our social posts, I often end them with a question.
Mhm.
In our stories, I'll poll them. I want to understand, what they like. And I think that's really helped to serve a good way to increase our user-generated content.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I think we do a really amazing things here, which is like events and give them a reason to share,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
So I think being very event driven is,
Mm.
really synonymous with being community driven. And you can't really have a community without hosting events, whether virtually or physically.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. And that is also brings some questions to my mind when we say like authenticity, when we say user generated content. You know that we are like surrounded by AI content in all over the social media. So looking ahead, one of the biggest topics everyone seems to be discussing will be AI. So how do you see AI shaping the future of social media? Like, do you think that AI will kill the authenticity or kill the user-generated content and take over the old social media that we are like living in it? Or is it like a trend? What do you think about it?
So I've had really, really serious conversations with with the co-founders of this company, the owners, and also my direct boss. The idea around AI user-generated content came up. I also felt a little bit of a push to move in that direction, but I really stood strong in this conversation. I think that no matter how good AI gets, you're not going to build a community off a fake person. I think that AI has its place in this world, like for sure, streamlining strategy, maybe scheduling content, coming up with captions, tweaking captions, understanding what keywords are going to work based on industry trends. Um, Even maybe product photography I'll be okay with, like, oh, grab this render and put it in a flat lay on a bathroom vanity. But when it comes to humans, I stand very strong on this behavior.
Yeah,
I absolutely do not want to show human AI content because one, I just feel fake for doing it. And if I'm going to call myself a community builder, like what kind of community am I building doing that?
yeah,
So I think AI is here to stay. I think there's a lot of beautiful things that come from it. It's a very cost-effective approach to get some things done, but I think that it's not cut corners when it comes to community building.
I totally agree with you. Sometimes it feels so fake and I don't want to like I
And they
don't
don't,
relate with
yeah, and
this
everything's just a little,
lifestyle.
And the thing
Yeah.
is, like, look, like I'll create like I created an AI piece for our trip to our influencer trip here, and it's like a bunch of girls
Hmm.
sitting in an airplane. I've seen that same exact post like 6 times from other brands. So it's
Yeah.
like I think that people want to connect with brands that are different and unique. But if every brand looks the same, like what is your USP? What's your unique selling point? Why would Dila want to engage with them when we look like exactly
Yeah.
like everybody else? So I think
Exactly.
like that human creativity will never go away. At least I hope it doesn't. And I really stand strong against that. And like I said, there's ways that AI will definitely make us stronger and better, but let's not
Not-
sacrifice the
Yes.
community.
Yes, I agree with you. So for my last question, as like someone who is still early in my career and like very interested in marketing, digital marketing, like social media and community building, what advice would you give to me or to someone who wants to grow into like leadership role in this field? Like, I would love to hear your insight.
So I have probably a couple tips, and I think they've served me well. One is don't be afraid to speak up. Even in a senior leadership meeting, if you were invited to the meeting, you have a seat at the table, you have every right to speak. Um, the second one is align yourself with people that are doing what you want to do. I think in my early 20s, I was mentored by some amazing VPs of marketing. There were people that I honestly admired and people that I was like, I want to learn from them. And I wasn't hesitant to reach out to them. Hey, I have this job opportunity. What do you think? Hey, I'm thinking of running this campaign. What do you think about it? You're never going to grow unless you're around people that are bigger and better than you.
Yeah,
Um, and lastly, I would say start before you're ready. I know this is like super cheesy. There's so many times I said yes to a job or a consulting fee and I had no idea how to do it, but I knew that I trusted myself to figure out how to do it. And Dila, you've witnessed me do this in the office with the TikTok shop. Um,
yeah,
I've always been on the organic social content creation side, strategy side. TikTok shop is more on the e-commerce side. It's a challenge
yeah,
that I said yes to, challenge
yeah.
accepted. And I'm really grateful. In the last 6 months, I've learned a lot about e-commerce, and I think it's an extra thing that I could add to my resume. It's something that I can put on my portfolio that I know how to do, and I'm only gonna get better at it. But was it scary the first few meetings with
Of
Emre and
course.
Gochin and my bosses? Absolutely. I had no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah.
But I have been reading a lot and learning a lot about how to do it. And also, I've been reaching out to people on LinkedIn with brands that are killing it on TikTok Shop. And they've been very generous. Not everybody, some people never wrote back, but don't be afraid to speak up and don't be afraid to go into the unknown because I mean, I think it's done good for me and I have my days sometimes, but I'm really proud of, for lack of a better word, the aggressiveness that I've had to chase my dreams.
Oh my God, that was amazing. Like that touched my heart as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lauren. That was incredibly insightful for me. I really appreciate you taking time and like share your experience and perspective about social media, digital marketing, and hopefully we will have another opportunity to connect in future.
Yes.
Means
Amazing.
on Monday.
Yes, I
Thank you
can't wait
so
to see you.
much.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. And this was super fun.
Yeah, same as well.